Hi, I'm Megan, and this is Downsizing for Seniors, the first YouTube channel dedicated specifically to the unique needs of seniors who are downsizing. In this video, we're going to talk about 2 of the 8 biggest mistakes that people make when they're downsizing. Those are how we idolize and rationalize our stuff, creating our very own great, abominable stuff monster. We are going to learn in this video how to keep that monster in check, so stay tuned. So while some of the information on this channel is geared towards seniors, most of it will apply to anyone regardless of their age. So no matter what your age, I'm grateful you spent a few minutes of your day watching this video. If you're new to YouTube, all the content is free. So I have a question for you. How did your great abominable stuffed monster really get so big? Well, if I had to guess, it probably has something to do with what I call idolizing and rationalizing your belongings. Okay, true confession here. Idolize, maybe not the best word for this mistake, but I needed something that ended in IZE. And if you look at the definition, it's not too bad. It says, to regard with blind adoration. What I mean by idolizing is we give our stuff too much power. We let our stuff define us. We let it make decisions for us. It takes our time and money from us, and it doesn't always give a whole lot back. Sometimes we can even become a slave to our stuff. And if you're thinking to yourself or even out loud, well, my stuff doesn't define me, maybe it doesn't. But maybe it does and you just haven't realized it yet. Ask yourself a few questions. Are you still a fine lady, even without your fine china? Are you still a crafty guy, even without a basement full of your craftsman tools? Do you still think your grandmother is terrific, even without her tea set? And are you still the couple who enjoyed their silver anniversary trip to Italy, even without that silver spoon you collected? It doesn't take a gigantic breakfront filled with expensive china, crystal, and silver in order for us to be gracious hosts and hostess. It doesn't take a closet filled with high-end suits to show the success of our careers. We are more than the sum of our objects, and yet we still hold on to them. It's okay, we all do it, but we need to recognize when we're doing it. Beyond just idolizing the individual items, I often see clients surrender their power to the mass as a whole, that great abominable stuffed monster. It's like it's taken a life of its own. We cower in its shadow because it has become bigger than us. We don't control it anymore. And then we let that stuff make decisions for us. If you don't think your stuff has ever made decisions for you, let me give you an example that I frequently see with seniors who are considering moving into a smaller residence, often in a care community. Your favorite care community calls and says they have something they think would be good for you. You go and see and you agree. It's really a great option for you. Sure, you're nervous about the idea of moving, but you're excited too. This works. And then you go home. You go home to all the stuff. The great abominable stuffed monster greets you at the door, and you think, no, I can't move. What would I do with the abominable stuffed monster? So you don't move. And just like that, it's happened. Your stuff made that decision, not you. So how do we take the power back? How do we shift the roles? First, we're gonna start with the basics. Words matter. Too often we use words that don't empower us. The word we use most often when talking about the things in our house, you've heard it many times, I've actually said it in this video a whole bunch, begins with an S, stuff. I hate this word. I know I use it, even this video, even in the title, but I hate it when it comes to downsizing. Let's look at the definition of stuff. Material or articles of specified or undeterminate kind. Really? And the other word we hear people use a lot that's even worse, it's a 4-letter word, begins with J, junk. The definition of junk: old or discarded articles that are considered useless or of little value. Now, do you really want to live among articles of indeterminate kind or useless articles? I don't think any of us do. The problem with using these words is they put us in a position of being subservient to our stuff, to our junk. So here's your pro tip. stop using the word junk, stop using the word stuff. Instead, how about the word possessions? Do you know what the definition of possessions is? The state of having, owning, or controlling something. Yes, you see how that flips the roles? This is an active ownership. This is, I'm the boss, I make the decisions here. Your possessions aren't going to become an abominable stuff monster because you're in control. I also like belongings. I actually use belongings more often. Same kind of thing though. It's active. It puts you in the dominant position. Now, if you really can't rid yourself of stuff or junk, I get it. But every time you say those words, you have to think, oh yeah, I'm losing control. I need to reestablish control. Your second pro tip. Your second pro tip is going to the dogs. If you've ever had a dog, or even if you haven't, you know that when they're puppies, you need to do a few things with them. First, you have to establish a dominance. You have to be alpha. Same is true with your belongings. If you've allowed your stuff, your belongings, to gain control, and they're in control, you need to reestablish yourself as alpha. The other thing about dogs, when you train them, you have to use short commands that are to the point. Sit, stay, down, come, out. We don't say things like, you know, it would be a really good idea if you came outside right now because I'm sure you need to relieve yourself and I want you to do that outside rather than in. Now that is ridiculous, right? We use short words that are easy to understand and to the point. And it turns out this is really good advice when it comes to downsizing your belongings. It's a way to reestablish alpha. When you start having those long conversations in your head about an item you're trying to downsize, you're in trouble. Well, I used to like this sweater a lot. I wore it all the time. I haven't worn it much, but maybe it's just because the weather this spring. No, stop. Stop the long conversations. You will be so much faster and far more successful. So your doggy dog pro tips are: establish the alpha position over your stuff. Remember who's the boss here. Stop having those longer conversations in your head about each item. Limit to as few words as possible. Keep, donate, Ted, Mary, trash. That's it. Keep it simple. What about rationalizing your stuff? We're going to go back to the dictionary for this one. Rationalize is an attempt to explain or justify with logic, plausible reasons, even if they're not true or appropriate. We do this so frequently with our stuff that we may not even recognize when we are doing this. Rationalizing often sounds like this: well, you never know. This is said so frequently by people downsizing, but it's just a way to justify having something we know we should downsize. And well, you never know has an evil twin sister. She's called maybe. Now, maybe is a single word like I recommended earlier, but neither of these are answers or complete thoughts. So here's your next pro tip. Inevitably, there are going to be some items that you need to have a little bit longer discussions. Keep them as short as possible. You cannot justify them with you never know or maybe. It needs to be a full sentence with concrete examples of how you're going to use it in the next 12 months. Realistically use it. Now, that's not as easy as it sounds. There can be emotional battlefields when you have to admit that you're no longer able to manage something you were once able to manage quite easily. This is one of the reasons why downsizing is hard. The ability to be honest about where you are in your life emotionally and physically, it's difficult, but we may have to admit to frailty even when we don't want to. By avoiding rationalizations, by facing them straight on, we'll be so much more successful in our downsize. So you've taken some big steps forward. 1, you're going to wrestle your power back and take ownership of your possessions. You're going to realize you are just rationalizing and make concrete, realistic plans to use something, or if you're not, you're going to downsize it. If you do these things, you'll avoid 2 of the biggest mistakes that most people make when they're downsizing. So it means we can move on to the next biggest mistake: monetize your downsize. In our next video, show me the downsizing money. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you're watching and know someone who would benefit from this information but does not normally watch YouTube, please be sure to help direct them to our channel. And remember, the start to any long journey begins with one small step. So take that first step, and thank you so much for watching.